So I'm redoing this. I did do a video or video with just me talking. There was no actual video, but me talking about two pieces of work. I took it down. I wasn't happy with how it came out, so this is the redo. I'm going to be talking about two people who I feel will probably benefit the most right now if they just shut up and stop talking. They are, without a doubt, some of the biggest problems with the generation today. And of course, I'm talking about Amy Schumer and Anita Sarkeesian. So I'll start with Anita Sarkeesian, everyone's favorite feminist game reviewer. Someone who I cannot believe can be so unanimously hated by so many people, to which she was receiving death and even rape threats. Something I do not condone. Under any circumstance, I don't care the severity of it or how much you disagree with a message. The minute you threaten someone's life or their body in some kind of harmful way, it is immediately wrong, and you should be in trouble for it. So with all that out of the way, Miss Sarkeesian, oh man, she decided to take to Twitter with her Feminist Frequency Twitter profile, in which she wanted to discuss Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, it would have done her great service if she would have just talked about the greater points of the game. I don't have access to the game. I don't have a means to play it. So I've kind of just been comically bashing it for the sake of ruffling feathers. But she decided to go a different route, and still sticking to her ultra-feminist views. One of those being that in several tweets she decided to say that how basically Nintendo has continued their damsel in distress ways, and still feminism is running amok, and how, the game is so good, and that feminism still gets overlooked in situations where the women is often look inferior to men. Except for one big problem, and here is your spoiler alert. If you have played Breath of the Wild, which is getting nearly perfect reviews, by the way, you would know that Zelda, the princess, the damsel in distress that Anita is talking about, is holding Ganon at bay this entire time, while Link is the one out and about in immediately less danger. Keep in mind. Because if Zelda cannot contain Ganon, then everyone loses. She has to stay continuously focused, and she's been doing it for a long time. Link has to recruit help to officially stop Ganon. Zelda is the one keeping him at bay. So she immediately got covered in hate mail and hate responses. In my opinion, this was her attempt at becoming relevant again. This woman, in my opinion, is the antithesis of everything that is wrong with video game hobby. She clearly is someone who takes advantage of the market for her own means. I was not a fan of the whole Gamergate discussion when it came out, which she played a very pivotal role in. I feel like she is totally in business for herself, and this clearly represents why. I don't agree with her views as far as feminism goes, because clearly she doesn't understand other games that came before it with female lead roles. She doesn't understand that men and women are not the same thing. They can't be treated the same, especially in regards to gaming. Now, don't take that out of context. I'm not saying they should not be treated equally. But you cannot put the same two people of different genders side by side and expect the same result. They both have to be looked at respectively. And she doesn't do that. She sees a situation where has been for a while Zelda needing to be rescued, which apparently she doesn't do her homework, because I think 50% of all Legend of Zelda games, there has been either Zelda or another leading female who has helped you, if not done more to help. But I digress. There's different ways to do it. And then you got games like Tomb Raider, who pretty much took that model and hit a home run with it. Now, people have argued she was implied that there was rape in the game, but you know what? That's a conversation for another time. I'm saying there is a way to do it, but the way she wants is not equality. Now, Again, that's all for a different video, and I don't want anyone to misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm all for if a game has a lead male character, a female lead character, just build it around it that makes sense. And she clearly doesn't know what she's talking about. And I also want to say, for someone who clearly is a voice for feminism, she clearly has no problem sexualizing herself to the point where she's doing photo shoots of herself where clearly there is side boob. For someone who whines about women being over-sexualized in games, apparently she also does not, apparently that she is above that. It does not apply to Anita. So, Anita, with all due respect, and on behalf of all of the gamers, male and female, please shut the hell up. Please stop talking. Get off Twitter. Get off social media. Work on your show that you had kickstarted 5 years ago that has still not happened. Or you might as well just return the money that people were spending for this. People eat your dribble up. I'm not one of them. I'm only contributing to the fact that every single time you open your mouth, you're promoting a very, very nefarious cause which has no merit. With all due respect, it'd be better off if you just kept these stupid opinions to yourself, especially if you're not going to do the research. And that's the problem here most of all, is she did not do the research. She's a blight against gaming. She has an agenda. Steer clear. Avoid her at all costs. Do not give her the time of day. The other person I had a problem with, Amy Schumer. Now, for those of you who don't know, she had a Netflix comedy special released not too long ago that has been drawing a lot of flack for its very, very negative reviews. To this day, I still believe it's holding at a 1-star rating. Now, I will say I do like what Netflix is doing as far as like releasing specials, comedy stand-up specials every month. I think it's a really good way of freshening up the library that they have. Here's the problem. You have to be funny. Amy Schumer, in my opinion, is on the same page as Seth Rogen. Whereas Seth Rogen has some charm, I don't feel like she has a whole lot of it. Her stand-up shtick is that she is this very independent woman who's in complete control, in charge of her body, and she does what she does, and she doesn't care of the consequences. Here's the problem with that. If you're going to have a gimmick that's revolved around sex, your own female parts, and things of that nature, you have to be aware of the people who are going to follow suit. They're going to be the same people, both male and female. And the reason why I have a problem with her directly is because her special and her gimmick is wearing thin, and people are starting to realize it. They're wisening up to the scheme. There's really no meat to those bones as far as humor goes. It's the same shtick. And a lot of comics fall victim to that. They keep relying on the same jokes, on the same shtick, and the problem is that after a while it gets old and it doesn't work. Jeff Dunham, he had a great deal going for him, but the problem is the jokes got stale and it wouldn't work for him. I went to a stand-up show for that man where the people in the crowd were finishing his jokes for him. It was fun, but it was also kind of embarrassing for him. Same thing with Carlos Mencia. Again, same shtick. Gets old. People wise up and move on. She's a transitional comedian who cannot move on. And now it's gotten to the point, because just like Anita, it's gotten to the point where she is openly, she was openly advocating for like more serious consequences for rape, which I agree. Except the problem is that when your comedic act is revolved around stolen jokes, which they are, you can go look those up, and about having all this casual sex and talking about your vagina and various parts of your body doing various things. The thing is, you're opening up the audience and the critics to reviewing you on that scale. And when you do that, you're also going to get a lot of negative, especially from people who don't typically like that kind of humor. So guess what? If you're going to go the vulgar route, you're going to get retaliation of the same sort. She can't handle that. Because clearly, when it came to a journalist who was making comments about how he might be somewhat interested in her, she took that as like some sort of like rape allegation, or as like him sexualizing her, when in actuality it had nothing to do with that. She clearly has no problem playing the dirty girl when it comes to her comedy. The problem is like the routine's getting old. She's not funny. It's the same shtick. As a matter of fact, I was watching a video where somebody was timing how soon it was until she got to every normal talking point that she did. On average, the longest one was 2 minutes, and I think the shortest was like between 5 and 10 seconds. So these two people are huge problems to both gaming and acting, because they both represent everything that is wrong with the company. Amy Schumer exploits comedy to her benefit because she's a woman, and the minute a man gets in her face, or not in her face, but the minute a man threatens that, she sees it as a sexist attack. Newsflash, Amy, you're going to encounter people, both male and female, that do not like the content that you are doing, and since you decide to have a more vulgar list of comedic jokes, you're going to invite more people who are like that to your shows, and you open yourself up more to ridicule because of the huge range of what you're talking about. You can't talk openly for 45 minutes about you having casual drunk sex with some guy and then get pissed off at a reporter for essentially hitting on you. Like, it doesn't work like that. You can't paint the narrative and then say that's not what it is. Just like with Anita. You can't claim feminism when it's not there. They both have an agenda. Except Amy is blaming the alternative right for downvoting it as some conspiracy. No, it's because you're not funny. And guess what? You are going to continuously be labeled as not funny unless you decide to change up your gimmick and start getting fresh with your material. Because it's been the same thing for years. And for a while, I thought Amy was a great spokesperson as far as like the woman figure, like all sizes are beautiful. And I'm like, okay, that I can get behind. Because not everyone has everyone can't be that perfect size 2 or lower. And I'm like, okay, but for someone her size, she's not unattractive. And good for her. She's taking what she has and she's running with it. I'm like, that is a great, wonderful thing to advocate for. And then she turns it around into this huge slutty act where she's talking about her vagina and casual sex and STDs and farting. And I'm like, and you wonder why people call you out on this shit. There's no substance. It is the toilet bowl of humor. It is the minimum. Same thing with Anita. I know I'm going back and forth here. She whines about there not being proper equality in gaming. And she has gone on record switching her opinion on the matter, whether she's a gamer or not. In my opinion, she's not. She might be super casual to the point where she picks up a game for like a few hours and then puts it down, then writes her blogs on it. She does what she does to make money. She doesn't care about the gaming industry. If the minute she sees something that fits her narrative, she complains about it to people who will listen, and she profits off of it. She exploits it. If she honestly cared about feminism in gaming, then guess what? She'd be advocating where it actually is needed. Because last I checked, where there actually is much needed feminism in the world, she's not advocating for it. It's all simply gaming. Because it's easy to get an audience there where it's not as direct. But anyway, that's my opinion on the whole thing. This was a take 2. I know I ranted in certain areas, but in my opinion, both Amy Schumer and Anita Sarkeesian, avoid them at all costs. They represent everything that is wrong with their craft, whether you stand on this. It doesn't matter what stance you are politically. Neither one of them do any good for their craft. They're both blights to either comedy, acting, or gaming. Ignore them at all costs, and whatever you do not give them a time of day. Don't go out of your way and issue them death threats or rape threats. We're better than that. As human beings, we're better than that. Because I can also go on for 20 minutes about how I'm getting sick and tired of these keyboard warriors who are making all these empty threats behind their keyboards, and I guarantee you 99.9% of the time, It's some guy in some basement or closed off room where the minute you actually get in front of them and tell them to repeat themselves, they're gonna cave in. I'm just saying we're better than that. But anyway, that's that rant. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm done with these two officially. And the next time those two decide to open up their traps, I will be more than glad to call them out on their nonsense, because I am not going to say that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a bad game because she feels there's feminism in it because she can't clearly define the term. And I'm not going to say Amy Schumer's comedy is golden when all she's doing is talking about farting in her vagina. Excuse me, I think I have a little bit more class than that. So until next time, you all rage on.